Florida has more than 800 miles of beaches, but let's be honest, most people are going to end up at like the same 5. Clearwater, Siesta Key, Miami Beach, Panama City, maybe Daytona, which means everyone's packed into the same overdeveloped, overpriced, sunscreen-slathered hotspots. But today, we're going to zigzag around the state to show you 10 hidden beaches, one from each corner of Florida. We're going to stop in Tampa Bay, Sarasota, Southwest Florida, the Panhandle, Northeast Florida, the Keys, the Spaced Coast, the Treasure Coast, Miami, and the Palm Beaches. That was a lot of words. So grab your cooler, slather on the sunscreen, and grab your map, because these are Florida's hidden beaches you've probably never heard of. First, we're going to start right here in my neck of the woods, the Tampa Bay area. And we're going to go to Shell Key Preserve in Tierra Verde. If you've ever wished you could have your own private island, Shell Key is about as close as you'll ever get without winning the Powerball. This undeveloped barrier island just south of Paso Grill Beach is only accessible by boat, kayak, or a water taxi from nearby. And that alone keeps the crowds away, and once you land here, you're going to find nothing but white sand, clear water, and some of the best shelling in the entire region. I mean, it's literally called Shell Key. It's also a wildlife haven. Dolphins cruise by just offshore, shorebirds rest in the dunes, there's even a few parakeets out here, which I think are pretty cool, and if you get a camping permit, you can even spend the night out here under the stars. There's no snack bars, no lifeguards, and definitely no cabana boys bringing you margaritas. Just you, the dolphins, and that Publix sub you squished in your cooler. And it's the kind of place that makes you forget you're only about 20 minutes from downtown St. Petersburg. Hopping just a little bit south to Sarasota, and we're going to head to Turtle Beach. Now, everyone's heard of Siesta Key Beach. It's won a lot of awards. It's got that famous sugar white sand, the fact that half the Midwest seems to show up here every spring break. But just a few minutes down the road is Siesta's underrated little sibling, Turtle Beach. Now, the sand here is darker and coarser, which means it doesn't get the same postcard and Instagram treatment, but that's exactly why it stays a little bit under the radar. Instead of wall-to-wall beach towels and umbrellas, here you're going to find quiet stretches that are great for shelling, shaded picnic spots, and even a campground where you can sleep within earshot of the waves. It's one of the only places in Sarasota where you can camp right by the beach. Now, Turtle may not win many beauty contests, I'm going to be honest, but it wins at being a peaceful, no-frills slice of Sarasota most tourists completely overlook and don't even know it's there. So while Siesta gets the crowds, Turtle gets the leftovers, which honestly, I don't think is a really bad deal. We're going to continue heading south to Southwest Florida to Cayo, Costa State Park. Now, if you want a beach that actually feels hidden, you've got to work for it, and Cayo Costa is the real deal. This beach is only accessible by boat, ferry, or kayak, and this barrier island was once a fishing ground for the Calusa Indians. Today it offers 9 miles of completely undeveloped shoreline, perfect for swimming, snorkeling, shelling, fishing, and bird watching. Shorebirds are everywhere here, and if you're lucky, you might spot manatees, dolphins, or even some sea turtles swimming around here. Add in quiet camping under the stars and some of the best shelling in the state, and you've got a slice of old Florida that feels raw, wild, and wonderfully inconvenient, but in the best way. Now, to get here, you gotta BYOB, bring your own boat, but if you don't have a boat, ferries do run from Pine Island, Captiva, and Boca Grande nearby, but it's still a bit of a trek, so think of this as Florida's version of Survivor, just with a little bit less reality show drama. Just a quick pause before we keep going here, but I am on a mission to hit 100,000 subscribers, and I am just over halfway there. I can't even believe it. And every single one really helps. So if you're enjoying this video, please do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button. Maybe share this with somebody. I sincerely appreciate the support. It means the world to me, and it helps me keep sharing more Florida adventures. Thank you so much. Now let's pop all the way back up to the Panhandle. Now, everyone knows Panama City and Destin, but drive a couple hours east and you'll hit Cape San Blas, a skinny peninsula near Port St. Joe, or as the locals like to call it, Port St. Slow. This place is beloved by people who actually live in the Panhandle, but it's still under the radar nationally. The vibe here is laid back and really dog friendly. It's one of the most pet friendly beaches in Florida, and the shallow clear waters here make it perfect for families and four-legged swimmers alike. And in the summer, it's one of the state's top scalloping destinations. They call this stretch of shoreline the Forgotten Coast, mostly because the developers forgot to ruin it with Margaritaville resorts, but stick around for sunset and you'll see why locals call it one of the most beautiful places on the Gulf. This area is named after St. Blas, or San Blas in Spanish, but it does sound a lot like Cape San Blas, which to be fair is exactly what it feels like here on a windy day. The shallow water is great for families, and in the summer, scalloping is a big deal here. You're going to feel like you discovered a secret Gulf Coast hideaway, mostly because you kind of did. Now over the northeast Florida Jacksonville area, we're going to stop at Big Talbot Island. This is one of the most visually dramatic stretches of coastline in all of Florida. On Big Talbot Island, you're going to find Black Rock Beach, where strange coquina rock-like formations line the shore and give this an almost volcanic look. This beach looks a little bit more like Hawaii than it does Jacksonville, and just up the way is Boneyard Beach. Kind of a scary named spot where twisted driftwood trees cover the sand like a giant's forgotten pickup sticks. The name fits, it's eerie, otherworldly, and unlike any other beach in the state. It's actually a favorite spot for photographers, painters, Instagrammers, and anyone who wants a backdrop that looks more like Hollywood than Florida. I actually think it looks like a great place to film a music video. Maybe some pirate metal? Yeah, that is a real genre. Some people say it looks like it's straight out of a Tim Burton movie. Others say it reminds them of something from Pirates of the Caribbean. But either way, it's the kind of raw, untouched landscape you won't find on Jacksonville Beach or Amelia Island. Now I said we were going to zigzag, right? So now we're going to hop all the way down to the Florida Keys. We're going to stop at Sombrero Beach in Marathon. Now most people drive straight through Marathon when they're on the way to Key West, but they're missing out on Sombrero Beach. This hidden gem has something rare in the Keys: actual soft sand. Most beaches in the Keys, well, to be perfectly blunt, they kinda suck. They're rocky, narrow, or man-made, but Sombrero has a wide sandy shoreline with swaying palms, and it feels like the Keys you imagine from a Jimmy Buffett song, not those rocky ones where you blew out your flip-flops. And it's one of the few free public beaches in the Keys with picnic areas, volleyball courts, and lots of shade. From April to October, it's also a nesting site for endangered sea turtles, so you might see some protected nests roped off in the sand here. So if you're road tripping the overseas highway, this is a great spot to pull over for a swim, and maybe the only one where you won't slice your foot open on the coral. We're gonna head up to the Space Coast beaches. This is the area that's closest to the Orlando area, and we're gonna stop at Playalinda Beach at Canaveral National Seashore. Now, Playalinda Beach is as natural as it gets, and in more ways than one of which you might not be expecting, but more on that in a second. Part of the Canaveral National Seashore, this stretch of sand has no high-rises, no condos, and barely any amenities at all. It's about as natural as Florida beaches come, with 24 miles of protected, undeveloped shoreline, the longest stretch of its kind on Florida's East Coast. What it does have, miles of pristine sand, rolling dunes, and a front row seat for rocket launches right here from Kennedy Space Center. This beach is actually the closest you can get to the launch pads without actually being inside the official viewing areas. Really popular spot for watching launches. And it's also famous for something else, a clothing optional section at the far end. Yep, Playalinda is one of the only beaches in Florida where you can legally work on that full body tan, so fair warning before you wander in there unsuspectingly. Or if that's exactly your thing, consider this your personal invitation to Florida's most natural attraction. So depending on where you spread your towel, you might catch a rocket launch or a view of a moon you weren't expecting. Now we're gonna head just a little south to the Treasure Coast, to Blowing Rocks Preserve. Now this is probably the most geologically unique beach in all of Florida, where instead of soft sand, Blowing Rocks is lined with jagged limestone cliffs, the largest outcropping of its kind on the entire east coast of the US. When the tide and waves are right, water shoots through holes in the rock like natural blowholes. This is the kind of place that makes you forget you're even in Florida at all, with a coastline unlike any other in the state. Now, it's not a state park, but it is owned by the Nature Conservancy, which means it's been protected from overdevelopment, and you can explore tide pools, shaded boardwalks, and even see endangered sea turtles nesting in the summer. Now, for the most dramatic effect, try to come out here during high tide, or even better, if there's a big storm out to sea, like a hurricane out there. That's when the spray here is the most dramatic. But either way, this is a side of Florida most people never even realize exists. Now we're gonna head down to Miami and go to historic Virginia Key Beach Park. Now, Miami is famous for South Beach glitz and glam, but hidden just across the causeway is Virginia Key Beach Park. This is a historic and much quieter alternative. Back during the segregation era, this was Miami's only beach open to African Americans. It was officially established in 1945 after local activists pushed for equal access, and it became a thriving community hub for picnics, concerts, and family gatherings, and today it stands as both a cultural landmark and a hidden escape from the big crowds. Now, unfortunately, this park fell into disrepair and was even closed for a bit in the 1980s, but thanks to preservation efforts, it was restored and reopened in the 2000s, and today it's listed on the National Register of Historic Places and continues to hold cultural events and occasional music festivals that keep the community spirit alive. Normally it's a quiet place, but not during festivals, gonna throw that out there. But the water here is calm and shallow, perfect for paddleboarding and kayaking, and there are shaded trails through the mangroves. South Beach has velvet ropes, EDM DJs, and expensive bottle service. Virginia Key has history, nature, a lot more peace and quiet, and 0 dudes named Chad trying to sell you a spot on the VIP list. And since we're popping around the state with no reason or rhyme, we're going to end in the Palm Beaches at Peanut Island. Now, Peanut Island is a quirky little slice of paradise right at the Palm Beach Inlet. You can only get here by kayak, boat, or a quick ferry ride, which does keep it off the beaten path and kind of keeps the crowds down a bit. Once you're there, you're going to find some of the best snorkeling in South Florida, with a man-made lagoon right here full of tropical fish, plus picnic shelters and campsites. But the craziest thing is hidden here is a Cold War era bunker built for President John F. Kennedy during the Cuban Missile Crisis. It wasn't his only fallout shelter. The government had larger sites in Virginia and West Virginia, but this one was unique. It was designed as an emergency hideout just minutes from JFK's Winter White House in Palm Beach. The bunker here could shelter him and his staff for up to 30 days, tucked beneath what looked like an ordinary old Coast Guard station. Now, today it is closed for tours, but it remains one of the most unexpected historical secrets in all of Florida. Where else can you snorkel, grill out, and stumble across a presidential fallout shelter all in the same afternoon? So there you go, 10 hidden, lesser-known beaches scattered across Florida, each with its own personality, story, and secret charm. So whether you're into history, nature, or just finding a quiet spot away from the crowds, these are some of the beaches that are worth that detour. So let me know, if you've been to any of these, which one would you hit first? And let me know in the comments if you know of a secret gem I missed. Or keep the secret safe, I get it. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more Florida adventures, reviews, top 10s, and videos exploring the entire Sunshine State, from the state parks to the theme parks. I will see you in the next one. Please stay safe out there, and I will see you around the Sunshine State.